this is what it's like to die. And mentally, I started losing it. And the only thing that brought me back in my brain was my wife, Stacy's, grabbing my face in my pattern. She grabbed my face and said, "Tom, don't fear dying. It makes you weak. I want you to get up and fight until you're dead." And that's what I did.
Welcome to the Superhuman Life. I'm your host, Frank Rich, and this is the only podcast in the world dedicated to helping men break free from the shackles of addiction through the power of faith and fitness. It is our goal with every episode to help you take back control and rebuild your body, mind, and spirit. And we do so by bringing you real and raw conversations with people just like you, aiming to find their place in this world while dealing with the everyday struggles and battles that we all face. Now, it is my belief that we were all created for a specific purpose. And if we can harness that belief or faith, then take control of our mind and body or fitness, then we can ultimately create the life that we've always dreamed about, our own superhuman life. I want to let you know how grateful and blessed I am to have you here with me today. Let's get on to today's show. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a very special episode this week of the Superhuman Life. As always, I am your host, Frank Rich. And guys, I'm fired up for today's guest. I'm fired up for this conversation. There's so much value jam-packed, and really, we're going to give you tools. We're going to give you the keys to success, the keys to becoming unbreakable. And it's three simple things, three simple strategies. But before I get into introducing today's guest, guys, just a couple housekeeping items I want to cover with you. A lot of you have been with us since the beginning and are listening to these podcasts here on Apple or Spotify or Podbean, all those platforms that are audio only. What I want to invite some of you to do is join us weekly on our YouTube channel now. We've been putting a lot of effort and focus into building this channel up, just like with the show. Our YouTube is dedicated to helping men break free from porn addiction. So Tuesday through Fridays, we release short little jam-packed, actionable videos for you that are going to help you break free if you're struggling with porn. And then every Monday we release the full video version of these episodes. So if you guys aren't doing so yet, I invite you to join us on YouTube. And for those of you that are watching on YouTube, if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn those notifications on so you're notified every single time these videos are released. But back to today's video, guys. You know, we've had former pro athletes with NFL Super Bowl champion and Anthony Trucks. We've had best-selling authors. We've had coaches, consultants, million-dollar earners, seven-figure entrepreneurs. We've had celebrities, internet celebrities such as Elliot Holst, 2+ million YouTube subscribers. But today, guys, we have a warrior. We have a veteran, 23 years distinguished in the U.S. Navy, and then retired Navy SEAL. Guys, and in my opinion, when you talk of SEALs, when you talk of these men, you're really talking about some of the most elite people walking the face of the earth. So the fact that we're going to get to spend 60 minutes with our guest today, the fact that we're going to get inside of his head and have him share with us the lessons, the principles, the tactics, the strategies that have made him successful in the military, in combat, in publishing books, and leading a family, and leading other men to want to be more, to become more in life. Guys, we are so incredibly blessed to have our guest here with us today. So who do we have on? None other than Thom Shea, retired Navy SEAL. Thom Shea served with the U.S. Navy for 23 years with distinguished valor before writing his first best-selling book, Unbreakable, the Navy SEAL's Way of Life. And later, he went on to release the 3 Simple Things Leading During Chaos. As founder of Unbreakable Leadership, Thom has trained thousands of people around the world to overcome chaos by applying the rule of 3 simple things to their lives and businesses. Thom developed his leadership processes and methods during his military career, where he served in 3 wars, ultimately leading a team of SEALs into Afghanistan in 2009. There he earned a Silver Star, Bronze Star with Valor, Army Commendation with Valor, and his 2nd Combat Action Medal. He was later hand-selected to serve as the officer in charge of the famed Navy SEAL Sniper Corps. Now in his downtime, Thom competes in numerous ultramarathons. Alongside his wife, Stacy, has volunteered countless hours to charity, raising funds through his athletic events for organizations like Special Operations Warrior Foundation and the Chris Kyle Memorial Trust. And Thom holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from Ball State University and a Master Training Specialist certification from the Naval Special Warfare Center. Thom and Stacy live in Greenville, South Carolina, with their three beautiful children. Guys, so that's who we're talking to. That's Thom Shea. But what are we going to get into? We unpack Thom's journey into getting into the SEALs. And guys, this is one that I haven't heard anywhere else before. We talk about, he shares some stories of some war stories and actually a near death experience. Guys, this is one you do not want to miss. We then get into what he does with some of his work and coaching and consultants. And then the second half of this podcast is really a masterclass. Thom unpacks and breaks down his brand new book, Three Simple Things, and why focusing on spirituality, learning, relationships, health, wealth. Guys, these are the keys to success. These are keys to life. Talks about a 6-hour baseline. Guys, I'm going to challenge you. If you enjoy what Thom has to say, join me in implementing and getting the 6-hour baseline into your life. For those of you that are endurance athletes or at one point are thinking about doing an ultra marathon, guys, he shares with us a simple formula to successfully do an ultra marathon, and it sounds so much easier than I'm sure all of us are possibly thinking it can be. But guys, this is a jam-packed episode, so without further ado, 3 simple things to becoming unbreakable with the Navy SEAL, Thom Shea. Thom Shea, celebrated Navy SEAL veteran. My brother, welcome to the Superhuman Life.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate your time.
No, I really do appreciate you blocking time out. I know today it's going to be one of those conversations for me that I got 2 pieces of paper sitting here ready to take some notes. And this is really for me. I'm just so fortunate that I'm able to share this with my audience. We did your intro. Everybody kind of knows a little bit about your story and really what you're doing with Unbreakable Leadership and your podcast. But I think where I really want to start, we haven't had a Navy SEAL. We've had some military veterans, really going back all the way to the first episode. Really, episode 2 had a great friend of mine that's played a very pivotal role in my journey, in my transformation. He was a Marine. But for you, with all of your honors and multiple stints in war and combat, I think the place I really want to start with you is what drives somebody, what motivated you to want to become a SEAL.
If you'd have asked me that as a kid, I probably would have given some, off the cuff or what my parents told me I should do conversation. But, now at 52, my answer is different. I don't think there's a big difference between somebody who tries to be a Navy SEAL than somebody who tries to, uh, you know, play football in high school, get on the band, something that's really difficult to do from that person's perspective. And it, I don't, it's a hard question to answer because I don't think SEALs is unique. What I think is unique is somebody that wants to do it. The drive, everybody has the
Mm.
same drive. Everybody wants more out of life. Everybody wants to be better at some shenanigans that they have in their brain. I just chose to be a SEAL, more to the point that I thought it was impossible, and I like the impossible things that happen for human beings.
That's incredible. We're gonna pack a lot of that impossible for human. I love that you said that. There's nothing, in your opinion, there's nothing unique about becoming or being a SEAL. And I've heard you talk about DNA and how it's not like our DNA can be changed and it can be reprogrammed. Can you kind of unpack a little bit about how you kind of view DNA and really how that ties into? I mean, because I think most people would say, can I be a Navy SEAL? And their immediate answer is no. Like there's something elite about that. They're created in a factory somewhere underground. They're not real humans. But I think of what you're saying, it's ultimately we all have the ability to become a SEAL living inside of us. So you kind of unpack what you meant when you said you don't believe in DNA and how it can be reprogrammed. I know that was said on a different
Mm.
show, but something that really, really stood out to me when you said that.
I don't think God played dice. I think, if there is an all-powerful being, he didn't create, a born system that has no options, And, come to find out when you talk to geneticists and when you talk to coaches who coached athletes, you talk to people that work out at the gym, people don't go in at their top. They go in broken, beaten, and then they struggle to reprogram what they initially have. Uh, so I'm not a fan that you are designed to do anything. I think you have to take the design that you have and better it. And I do know that DNA can be programmed. Like you can repurpose things, and your body really likes to be repurposed. And so I thank God that DNA can be reprogrammed, or 90% of the people are screwed because they're born into something that's not worth it. They're born on the wrong side of the track, whatever the hell that means, or they make a mistake, and if you say it's genetics, there's nothing you can do about it. You're stuck. But like we were talking offline, I think you can do anything again. People make mistakes. It's not the blame of their dad or their mom genetically. It's what's inside. Can you get somebody to get you off your ass to do great things? And that's all SEALs is a bunch of people that want to be better than they think is possible, and a bunch of instructors that want to make you the best possible, fighter that is on the planet. And those 2 things, when they meet up at SEAL training, it's a remarkable place to go to learn to see what's really going on with the human genome, if you know.
Yeah. So what was your experience going through SEAL training? I know it's I mean one of the most challenging types of training with buds, and I know for you you had to go through buds multiple times. So what was that training like for you? And and did you know going into that did you well I guess did you have this mindset of wanting or being able to do the impossible prior to that, or was that something that you picked up out of SEAL? So I know I asked kind of two questions there.
Yeah, there's 2.
Um,
Yeah, the answer that I have is I think everybody has these same things they go through. They really want something, and then they get there. And my experience of buds, will be the second answer. The first answer is I got an opportunity to go to, West Point, and I failed out in my 3rd year. So that can be tragic or it can be transformational. At the time, it felt tragic, but I'm like, "You know what? Here's the deal." I didn't say this. I had somebody mentor me through the bottom, and they said, "It can't get worse. You could either die or you get better." And the question was, what is it that you've always wanted to do that you think about constantly? And it was hard for, a young man to answer that because I tried to answer it when people say, "Hey, what do you want to do?" And when my answer came out, they're like, "Well, that's stupid." So once I failed, my answer was, "I've always wanted to be a SEAL." And everybody still said it's stupid when I wanted to do it as a 20-year-old or 21-year-old. And I said, I'm going to do it. I'm just not going to, I'm either going to die doing it or I'm going to make it through. So then I show up to SEAL training, and SEAL training is still this from inception in the 1940s until now. It it's not designed to make you a better human being. It's designed to fracture you and break you down, break you mentally, break you spiritually, break you physically, and then see what reconstitutes if it wants to reconstitute. So SEAL training is a series of misfortunate accidents that happen to you as a human being. You get beat up on day 1, and you get beat up on day 2, and you don't your friends quit, and, it's cold and miserable, and people doubt you, and you doubt yourself, and I went and, I was in 5 different classes, and I made it to Hell Week in five times and finally graduated my 5th one. And the only thing that's learnable from that is, I was a good athlete, but what I learned to do is I'm just not gonna quit on myself, and that can be taught. And when you don't quit, everything's possible, but you gotta not quit. So my experience of buds was it's miserable. When I was an instructor, I made it terribly miserable on the students, and I wanted to see what human being came out of that misery. And, still still only 90% or 90% of the people quit. It's still the same paradigm now.
90% of people that enter into buds don't make it out
Don't make it.
on the other
Yep.
side. Wow.
And everybody comes really great athlete. Like, to get there, you have to be on top of your game. Like, the average push-up to enter is 100, well, maybe 95 in 2 minutes, 100 sit-ups, 12 pull-ups. I think it's maybe it's a 3-mile run. You have to get it in 20, which isn't fast, but then you have to swim 800 in, about 10 minutes, and all very quick times. And then day 1 happens, and people start quitting on day 1, and they leave until 6 months later.
Yeah, I've heard Jocko Willink. I'm sure you're familiar with
I love
with
him.
his work. Talk about when he when he got to Buds, it's like he was kind of at the bottom tier of the athletic performance side. Like you have all these guys, varsity played D1, top 6'5", shredded, 250. Like these are the type of guys. But he was saying these are the ones that are broken first. It's like
Yep.
their talents and skills have carried them their entire life, that they didn't build the mindset, the tangible things that you're talking about. It's not about who can perform the best. It's not about who's the strongest. It's not about who can run the fastest. It's who's got that unbreakable, mindset for.
Yeah, it's what goes on in the mind. The body can adapt. Like, the body's a beautiful thing. It'll adapt to anything, but it won't adapt the first time. You gotta get it multiple iterations of it. And, the mind, like that beautiful thing between people's ears that maybe 1 in 50,000 people spend any time trying to understand. And it's not taught openly in SEAL training, it's taught by crippling you. Like, you come to training and you're scared, and the instructors that are there are, uh, they do everything with you, and it's scary watching another grown man, probably 10 years older than you, not even break a sweat while you're, on the verge of dying, and they go in the cold water with you, and they don't shiver, and that dynamic is fun to watch. And, but the ones, the instructors mentally are on a different plane than the students.
I have so much, I've been fortunate to, from a training perspective, train with, some very high level athletes, from bodybuilders to professional. I've spent some time in the gym with a handful of SEALs, and there's just something about initially the way that they carry themselves, and in many times, I mean, we're talking nothing compared to what you've been through. I'm talking about, bench pressing and doing bicep curls. So to even talk about how simple a SEAL would make something like that look, it almost seems like it's discrediting how incredible of humans you guys really are. So you spent 26 years serving. Is that
23.
23?
Yep.
Okay. And I don't want to spend a lot of time because I really want to get to the Unbreakable Leadership and really unpack the
Okay.
book here. But can is there a story here, something short, simple, of your time? I mean, it doesn't have to be a tragic story. It can be a fun one if you have any of those. I mean, just kind of, on a lighter side here. Is there anything
You
that
mean
you
in the
can share
SEAL
from?
teams?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, we mentioned offline, I had written a book to my kids during my last deployment, and I was a platoon chief at the time, and I had 22 other guys that I was responsible for bringing them home and making good decisions out there in Afghanistan. And during that deployment, we had an epic combat deployment. Every time we went out the door, and we went out 40 sometimes, we we saw the enemy, and we didn't shake hands with him, and we shot at him, and he shot at us, and we survived after 6 months. But I had tried to write what it was like to be there. What was it like to be a warrior leading men in combat to my kids? Because I really didn't know if I was gonna return from every mission. And one mission in particular, we had we'd been so successful, we thought we were cool, and we had forgot to plan in detail that is required to be successful in combat, and we didn't. And we planned this mission looking at a flat map and didn't realize that it was terrible mountainous terrain. Like we dropped the ball, and we inserted about 4 miles from the target area, and it took us around 7 hours to walk 4 miles because we were in a firefight the whole time. And we took over the target area and found out that we couldn't maintain the area or the building that we were supposed to. So we had to make ourselves tactically disadvantaged by moving out away from protection into the middle of a valley. And we tried to do that and found a building and maintained it throughout the day. That led to the what happened at night is we had dropped our guard. Like we'd won the battle of life that day. And one of the worst things you can do until things are over is kind of let your guard down. Whether you're in business or working out at the gym or athletics, I see it everywhere now, but I saw it at that moment. I didn't pay attention at the moment. So we let our guard down, and the enemy within 5 minutes knew we had dropped the ball. And we got hit by a massive attack, RPGs and machine guns and bullets. And I had gotten blown up into a room uh, about 10 foot in the air. An RPG hit me and pushed me through the air and into a space in a room. And I remember laying on the ground, mentally not wanting to play anymore. Like I felt like I was dead. I didn't feel any pain. I'm like, there's no reason why I shouldn't feel pain. I should. I'm like, oh, this is what it's like to die. And mentally, I started losing it. And the only thing that brought me back in my brain was my wife Stacy's grabbing my face in my pattern. She grabbed my face and said, "Tom, don't fear dying. It makes you weak. I want you to get up and fight until you're dead." And that's what I did. And whether that's drug induced or whatever, I don't think we were on drugs, but that's really what sat me up. And then I rallied, and I rallied by doing the only thing I knew to do was to fight, not make sense of it, keep fighting. And I couldn't find my guys at first, and I couldn't even move out of the room. I had to kill a sniper that had me pinned down, and shot him at around 630 yards, which to me was the scariest thing because he could see me. He'd shot at me and hit my helmet. And so we were in a back and forth, in shots fired, and I ended up getting him. And then I had to get my men, and my men were believing the bullshit too. They thought that it was over, because we couldn't move, and nothing worse in life than the feeling that you can't do anything about it. And, come to find out you can. You can do simple shit. So I just re-engaged them. "Hey, we're gonna fight till we're dead. Everybody okay with that? We're not gonna sit here trying to make sense of it. We're just gonna keep fighting." And 45-minute firefight ends, with us running out of ammo, and we called in a jet that, dropped some bombs out in the enemy space and killed all of them, and we survived. And that 45-minute period of time makes me very clear that humans are capable of so much more. And I don't recommend everybody going into combat to experience it. I recommend doing hard things on a day-to-day basis so that your mind can take over.
Yeah, I love that. Like embracing the suck, embracing the hard here. And I know your work is with leadership and business owners and CEOs and executives, and my work is with men that are trying to really get out of compulsive habit behavior called an addiction. We don't really have a better word for right now, but leadership starts with us within. We have to lead ourselves first, and I've been doing a cold shower every morning now for probably the last 18 months. I start 60 seconds first thing, and then I wrap it up with 60 seconds at the end as well. And I know it's not the same as diving into to 50 degrees, but I start my morning by doing the hardest thing
Mm,
first. Like it sucks. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that
still
sucks to
still to
hear
this
you
day.
say
Like
that. I'm like, "Ooh," I feel terrible when you even say that, but that's legit.
I mean, still like a morning today. I live in Florida, so we're not freezing, but it was 45 degrees outside. So I took the pup for the walk, still freezing. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking like, oh, it'd be just so easier just to let it, just let it heat up. But it's like, no, I got it. Like doing that first, like it makes everything else that I'm gonna do for the minute of the day so much easier. And I know we're gonna get into a lot of your routines in the 6 hours, but you talked about you were writing a book to your kids there in that story. Is that the book that went on to become
Mhm.
Unbreakable?
Yeah, it was a series of emails and sketches and diagrams that I had, written down about combat and what I'd felt that day or done that week or whatever, and, either written in blood or crayon or dirt, and but then I came back, and I'm not a writer other than if I decide to do something, I'm gonna do it, but it sat on the shelf, and when I returned from combat in 2009, I had taken over our sniper course, and I was not a big guy of being public as a SEAL, and I retired, about 4 years after that deployment, and, Stacy said, "Hey, why don't you get the manuscript out and write complete it for the kids?" So my intent was just to make it linear and give it to our family, and she, as much as I love and hate her, she put it on Amazon, and, I think it struck a chord with people who know that there's more, and, everybody likes the hard Navy SEAL, but the hard Navy SEAL is, yeah, it doesn't really exist. It's just humans that are unwilling to give up on themselves.
To give up.
And so
Right.
I wrote the book I titled it Spartan Woman, and I wanted my kids to know that, men flounder without a stronger woman than they are, and, the editors that edited the first book said, "Dude, that ain't gonna sell. Nobody really cares about strong women." I beg to differ, but so they put the title Unbreakable: A Navy SEAL's Way of Life in the title, and, it went viral, which was cool, and then, I don't necessarily I was gonna address another thing. I don't train leaders. I train people that are willing to be more, and some of them are CEOs, some of them are professional athletes, or some of them are at their point where they're 40 years old, and they're like, "Dude, I want more than this. I want more. I want more love. I want more relationship. I wanna be faster, stronger, more money, more something or whatever," and if you're willing to do that, I'm 100% committed to having everything, and, but yeah, the first book was just a series of 13 lessons that I wanted the kids to learn in case I died, wasn't there to teach them.
So Spartan Woman, and then the publisher says nobody cares about
Yep.
strong women. Wow, wow. I mean, incredible that the change has gotten it to where it is today, and it went viral, and it may not have happened, but I've heard you speak, and you mentioned Stacy here multiple times, and I've heard you talk about her on other podcasts as well. Um, so the work, obviously, here, I've worked specifically with men. Our audience here on the show it's about 65-70% men. So we do have somewhat of a female audience, but I definitely encourage, and it's a part of what, if the guys that we're working with are in relationships or marriages, and we address that. But can you speak to, the role that a woman plays in a man's life for him becoming more, since you coach and help people to become more, or, so yeah, the role that a woman plays in a man's life if he's looking to become the greatest version of himself, or however you want to,
Dude, you're gonna
phrase
kill
that
it.
at the end.
It's not political, and there's this big faction, and I'm not saying I'm right. So if you're listening, I'm not trying to be right. Uh, I'm interested in being the best version of myself and that men be the best version of themselves. Uh, in my opinion, men are half of an equation. The other half is a woman, and it's built that way. You can fight it, but it's the deal. The woman and you fit. And I'm not trying to be sexual or sexist about that. It's just the deal. And
No, we're a faith show, so we can trace what you're saying here all the way back to the
yep,
beginning. Man created Adam, and he looked at him and said, "He's not enough by
yep,
himself." So no, I'm right in
yep.
line with what you're saying.
And we could get in a cerebral contextual conversation about sexist and Y and X and all that stuff, but uh, men need a firm hand, not by a man. You get better mentally and physically by having a coach if you're a man. Spiritually and relationally, you need a woman. And the truth about men, strong men, is they're raised by strong women. A powerful mother raises a strong warrior. A weak mother cripples a male kid 100% of the time. It's not a blame, but if the woman isn't strong, and what I say strong is this, the woman has to stop negotiating with men. There's no negotiation. Never let a woman give up something that she's strong about for a man's weakness. We as men beg women to, if their strength is that they can, whatever, be patient, we as weak men make them impatient. So we make women give up their strength for our stupidity. That's one way to look at it. Uh, I fall off the rail constantly, as does every warrior that I've ever met on every aspect of my life, unless the woman says, shut your fucking mouth and go do that. Go to war. Stop being a wimp. Wake up. Go to work. Hey, take your son out. If it was left up to me, you know, all the brothers that are listening to this, men wouldn't even buy a house. They're like, "Oh, dude, let's go stay in a tent. I don't care." I don't That's not me. The woman presents you with stability, and we're like, "Ah, I don't really care." And, when I finally realized that, I started playing at a different level. And when I'd gotten a divorce, and I treated my first wife like she was meat. I was a SEAL. I was gone all the time and take care of the kids. Why don't you take care of the kids? And all that conversation that happened from me being a weak man until I got divorced. And I'm like, well, this sucks. Now I can't even operate. And then the teams in your middle of the divorce, they won't let you play because you're dangerous. So until you figure this out, you can't come. And so I was 6 months lagging. I got a divorce right when I was leaving instructor duty. And I'm like, man, this sucks, man. I was at the top of my game. Now how am I gonna have 2 kids, divorced wife? How am I gonna deal with that? And I'm like, "Well, I'm definitely not gonna get another woman because I can't have this happen." So I decided to be single. I was gonna dedicate my life to being single. And then I met Stacy, and she's like, "Here's the deal. We're gonna triple this, and I want you to be a warrior. I'll do what I do, and you need to help me do it, and I'll help you do what you do." And everything went back on the table. I could talk about everything, all my weird stuff. She could talk about all her weird stuff. And I became a better, not only operator, but better man. I was immediately a better husband, immediately a better father by her being stronger than me. And it's rare. Like, I wish more women would have that. I just call it the Spartan woman phenomenon, where they give you a shield, go fucking fight, bring it back or die. So I don't want you to quit anymore. Stop complaining and go do life. And she supported me in that, and it made a huge difference.
Yeah, that's incredible. And all the single guys out there listening, because I myself am single and in a life's transitional moment, I guess you could define it as right now. What I'm hearing you say is is you had kind of made your mind up. Like you were focused on you. Like you weren't out there fishing and chasing and dating every other girl. As a SEAL, like you could probably walk into to any bar and to any place and just kind of throw one of your medals down. And I would assume that it's going to be as easy that in some places. But it was really like you were focused on you, and then God brought you the woman that you needed. So um, that's that's amazing. Absolutely love that.
I'm not saying I'm not an advocate of being single. There's a time. There's a time to know that you cannot commit. Don't get in a relationship because you feel like you have to. It's, you know, don't do anything half. So if you can't go all in, then don't. It's you don't need to. You have 40 years, 50 years to figure that out. And but when you go in and don't go half at it. And I've trained 300 executives, professional athletes, and awesome people. And the fourth part of training is relationship. Like, we're gonna close the door here, and we're gonna talk about this. Come to find out, the best way to make a business money, like, I didn't think this 7 years ago. Hire me as a consultant, we're gonna make your company money. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna work on the boss, man or woman, and when your life at home works, and within 90 days, the company can double their revenue or double decrease loss or anything, because when the boss's life works, everybody's lives work at the company, and it generates income like crazy. One of the things I found is 2% of my clients had a great relationship at home. 2. Like, well, ooh, I wonder what we're going to do. And I then and ended up doing asked them to do something simple. And everybody listening, this is my commitment to the conversation that I would love to have with every man out there. Uh, Simplicity. The shit's not complicated. It's not. The hardest thing to do is make it simple. No drama. There's no drama in life anymore. Take it, throw that, write that word on a piece of paper and wipe your butt with it and never try to get it back again. Don't add drama because it's not helpful. If you're with a woman, or if you're a woman with a man, here's the deal. You have to commit to these 3 simple things. Like, it makes the biggest difference. If you're a professional athlete, if you're trying to do well in school, if you're whatever your reason to be listen to this podcast, here's the deal about relationship. Uh, it's a X factor. Here's the X factor. Every single day for the rest of your life, you have to listen to your spouse or lover for 10 minutes. Close your mouth and commit to listening to him or her, period. If they wanna share, they're gonna go out in the garden and plant a fucking flower. Close your mouth and be interested. If you can't be interested, get a divorce. Literally, leave, because 'cause you're killing yourself and you're killing her or him, and you're killing your kids. So listen. You will find that you really get interested in them if you listen. Secondly, when it's your turn to share, don't share bullshit. "Honey, this is what I'm up to today, and I need your help doing it. I'm gonna go do XYZ. I'm gonna run 10 miles. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna try to get on my diet and do blah." So share 100% of your commitment that day. And then, which was the tragic part, getting my clients to do those 2 was difficult. The tragic was the last 10 minutes of this 30-minute relationship time is called intimacy. You have to be intimate every day of your life with your spouse until you both die. I mean, virtually, you can create intimacy. Phones can do it. If that's what you wanna do it. Touch her on the butt, touch him on the butt, touch her on the shoulder, say they look nice, acknowledge them. Whatever intimacy is, doesn't have to be gross. So 10 minutes listen, 10 minutes speaking, and 10 minutes of intimacy, you will quadruple down on what you can accomplish very quickly if you have that type of relationship, and it's freaking hard to do, very hard, but it's simple.
Yeah, I've heard you speak. I think this is a part of your daily 6 hour um, routine, correct? So with that, can we go there and can I have you kind of
Sure.
unpack these 6 hours, how you kind of develop this, and then just kind of walk us through these 6 hours of it's like, do you have a name for it? So give us a name and then just kind of walk us through
I call it
and
a
unpack it all.
6 hour non-negotiable baseline, and I wrote about it, simply because, so I wrote 3 Simple Things, which is my second book, because, so many great warriors were committing suicide, and I'm like, "Shit, is there something that I don't know that I'm on the verge of blowing up?" And 7 of us SEALs sat around a table one day and, we were drinking a little bit and went around the table like, "Hey, what have you not completed in your life? If you died, what would be incomplete?" And when it got to me, I'm like, "Man, I've created a wonderful training program, and, nobody else knows about it other than the ones that went through training." And they're like, "Dude, why don't you write another book?" I'm like, "It's hard." By the way, it's hard writing a book. It's not, "Hey, I can go write an email to my friends." And I said, "But it's the secret sauce. I mean, this is my living." So the in 3 Simple Things is the process and method to really have an extraordinary life. If you're willing to put in the you gotta do the work, though. And the baseline effort is this, uh, it's a 6-hour baseline, and there are 5, like, pillars, and the first pillar is your spiritual life. And your spiritual life as a baseline, which what I call baseline, is you can't negotiate with this. This is not what you do on Sunday. It's not what you do you feel like it. You do it no matter what. Even if you had COVID, you gotta get to it. So it's the baseline. So part of that is right after you wake up and right before you go to bed, you have to have all of your joints and muscles moving and warm. So you gotta move everything because the human body is the conduit for spirituality. Like, if your body is screwed, you're not gonna get close to spirituality. So, there's a process, and the process is you gotta spend 10 minutes. I found a way to move all your muscles and joints. So you do squats, push-ups, and sit-ups. You've moved every muscle and joint in your body. It's not a workout. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be turn on the system. So that's 10 minutes. Now my body is on, but my senses may not be. So you have 5 senses, and these 5 senses are actually how you perceive the world. Like, if you can't hear and you can't taste and you can't smell and you can't see and you can't touch, there's no world outside. It's called coma, maybe? So, you turn on your 5 senses, and I didn't create that process. I had to go to some doctors that, "How do I make this better? How do I turn on my eyes? How do I turn on my sense of smell?" And so, you have an eye chart that we produce that you look at this eye chart, and you have to listen to 3 sounds, and you have to taste something that's enjoyable, and you have to smell something that's enjoyable. And then the weird thing is everybody bitches and moans about this is you get not a wire brush, but you get like a horsetail brush and you brush every inch of your skin because your sense of touch is incredible. Come to find out, nobody has it. Like, they can't feel very much. How the hell are you going to deal? Yeah, your skin. So most people don't. Their back. They've never touched their back. They've never touched the back of their like their knees. And so you brush every inch of your skin. I think it's weird to do, but now when everybody does it, they're like, "Oh, that was probably the most important thing I did all day because I realized I had a problem down there." Or I realized, I don't taste like I should," or I realize I can't move my joint, and you find it out in minutes.
Yeah. Wow.
And then you have to we created a formula, this, savant and I created a formula, uh, you either so I've moved everything, turned on my senses, and now I have to declare my commitment right now. So, there's a formulaic approach to it, or you could pray or meditate. But you have to say, "Okay, my goal is to run a ultra marathon in June, and today I'm gonna run 10 miles." Or and I'm gonna drink water, and I'm gonna do this. With my relationships, I'm gonna, listen, speak, committed, and I'm gonna have intimacy, or I'm gonna help Stacy, do X, Y, and Z today. So I declare what I'm gonna accomplish that day. Then
It's like
yeah,
setting your intention
intentionality, like
for the day,
straightforward,
and you
clear intentionality, not high.
verbalize this
Yes.
out.
Yeah. So that's the
Got it.
spiritual side, and you do that when you wake up, and you do that right before you go to bed. If you can't do it before you go to bed, you'll take away half of the what's available, because the human condition really loves to be on point at night so that during nighttime, it solves everything. That's where great knowledge and epiphanies and you gotta demand something of your body the next day. Like, "Hey, Tom, I'm gonna run 10 miles tomorrow," and I say that at night. If I don't tell myself to do that, it's not interested in repairing that. So, "Oh, shit, my legs hurt. Hey, I'm gonna run 10 miles tomorrow." "Okay, okay, bro, I'll repair that for you as best I can." So the next one was the physical pyramid or health pyramid, and that takes a little more time, but it's not negotiable.
So is that's an hour spent
No,
on
it's 30.
spirituality, 30 minutes
So
in the
5
AM.
minutes
Oh,
so
it's 30,
15 in the morning and 15 at night, total 30
15 in the evening. Got it.
of
Okay,
those 3 simple
got it.
things, if you will. It sounded not simple, but it's very simple. In
Yes.
the physical world, uh, it's a 90-minute bracket or block for physical. So 3 things that you have to accomplish every single day that ends in Y is you have to move for an hour relative to what you're committed to. Meaning, if you're a bodybuilder, go do bodybuilder stuff. If you're a swimmer, go do swimmer stuff. Because if I'm a swimmer, I have a list of 1,000 things that I'm gonna try to do. And I g so a baseline hour of movement. Hour of movement. It could be walk. It could be, "Fuck, I'm tired. I broke my leg." Good. You still have to move for an hour. Get a bicep curl going. You gotta move as much as you possibly can for an hour. Not effort level, all that stuff is just sales pitch and shenanigans. So move for an hour. The other one is the more interesting part is, you have to stretch for 20 minutes. That part makes athletes. Nobody does it. Nobody stretches. Yoga people don't work out.
Nope.
They stretch all the time and do mobility. Top athletes, stretching is like, "Oh my god, this is gonna hurt." So, that'd be the second part. So, an hour and then 20 minutes and then 10 glasses of water a day. Those 3 simple things are transformative, simple, effective. If you by the way, if you run an hour a day for 3 months, you can actually accomplish an ultra marathon. Because if you run 5 miles a day times 7, that's a 35-mile week. That's profound running. Most people don't run a 35-mile week. That's all it takes to accomplish a 50-mile ultra marathon is a baseline of 35 miles a week. Having run 20 ultra marathons, that's the baseline. And 57 of my clients and I have run ultra marathons together when they had never run even a marathon before, just by doing simple shit. So that's the first 2, that's spiritual, physical, in that order. So I wake up, I do spiritual. Priority wise is you have to do your main effort hour in the morning before you get busy. So if you're not doing that baseline hour of movement, you could have a major workout in the afternoon, but you still gotta move for an hour before you get beat down by the day. And I've tried to do it at the end of the day. I've had clients do it at the end of the day. The outcome is entirely different. So I wake the fuck up early, literally, wake up early and get to it. Then the next one
Eat the
is you
frog.
have to do the 3 simple things in relationship. Listen to your loved ones for 10 minutes. It can be a girlfriend, it can be a boyfriend, doesn't matter. Listen for 10, speak for 10, and then have intimacy for 10. Then your rest of the day begins. So that's 30 minutes spiritual, 90 minutes of physical, 30 minutes relational, and then the cornerstone is wealth, which is the pursuit of what you value. How you not pursuit of money. You can make money working out. So if that's how you derive income, that then the pursuit of wealth. It's a 3-hour baseline. Uh, Tragically, you have to be for an hour a day finding and fighting your way into new clients. You have to be finding new clients every single day, even Saturday and Sunday. Get on the phone, do social media, client acquisition, talk to people, try to sell them an hour a day baseline. You can't negotiate with that. You still have to do it. Most successful people stop doing offensive sales because it's hard. The person says no most of the time. The second one is uh, an hour spent dealing with your existing clients. So offensive, try to find new clients for an hour. Even if you make one call, it takes you an hour in your head. Convince yourself to make that one call or whatever the crap is. So make that call. Uh, an hour of offense, an hour of defense. The most difficult is the third hour. The third hour is you can't solve any problems anymore. You have to do strategic thinking. And by the way, strategy isn't problem solving. It's actually creating more problems. But
Mm.
you sit there and you go, where do I want to be in 5 years? If you can't think 5 years that far out, think 3 years out. Shoot, I can't do that. How about 2 years? Allow your brain and your body and your mindset to try to imagine itself at the end. It's the hardest process because once you start solving it, man, I really want to buy a home in California. Shit, now I have to have 20 more clients. Now you're solving it, you can't solve it. Imagine, dream, theorize. You're not encumbered with any factual reference, which is how strategy comes into play. That is a stretch. That's where millions are made. If you can't strategize, you're just making dollars. Strategy comes into like to the power of 20. People who can strategize make a lot of value. They create a lot of value. They create organizations that create value. People who are operational are
Yeah.
the offensive, defensive people. So the human experience has to fumble with those 3 things daily. So that's 3 hours baseline. The other 30 minutes is literally spend 10 minutes trying to learn something that you don't know throughout the day. Don't be a know-it-all. Like the worst person in the world is the one that says they know how to do something. Like, shoot, I know how to do something, but I'd love to somebody show me another way. Go to a gym and say, well, I'm going to learn something new today. A new way to do something new. I'm going to learn a new exercise. 10 minutes. You don't have to spend all day doing it. The second one is get better at something that you already know. So if you're already a great bench press, get better at that. Learn a better way to do something that you already know. Learn something new for 10 minutes. Learn a new way to get better at something that you're already a master of. And then the third one is allow yourself to dream. Dream big. Allow yourself the intellectual space or the epiphany space of dreaming big. That's not strategic. It's, And that's the hard one. Just let yourself dream. It's very hard. So those 3 simple things per 5 categories take 6 hours, and you have to be able to do a 6-hour baseline for 21 days straight. And to date, there's been 2,700 people, a little less, try to do a 6-hour baseline in 21 days, and 32 have been able to do it the first time out of 2,700 people. It normally takes 3 months to reset your shit so that you're doing this baseline. Once you achieve that 6-hour baseline and you've done it for 21 days, you're lethal. Everything that you say you're gonna do, you do. You're very focused, and most of the CEOs are like, "Damn, Tom, it's 10:30. Why is that a tragedy?" He goes, "I'm done. I've already done all that stuff." Then go home. Your business doesn't need you sitting at work all the time just in despair trying to solve everybody's problems, and you get lethal. I know that was extended, but I'm
Where
sorry
do
for
you
that.
where do you No, that was I mean, that in of itself, like that's gonna be chopped, created into a training, and this is so good. Where do you find most guys out of these 5 areas? Because I gotta imagine, working with high achievers, high performers. The wealth category, I'm assuming a lot of them probably have kind of, or at least they believe they have it under control. And I mean, we're talking about a 3-hour workday, but where do you find the majority of your clients are struggling with consistency in any one of these 5 areas?
I don't think it's an area dependent thing. So in the training, to achieve a 6-hour baseline, you have to learn, kind of 3 external skills that you can apply. And the 3 external skills are how do you actually focus on an activity? Like, what are you capable of doing? Come to find out, athletes are really stupid about this. Athletes tend to push through focal points, and it's not useful. So the most premier athletes, endurance athletes, are up in Norway, in Finland. They live it. Come to find out, they rarely push themselves past pain. Like, shit, if it hurts, I don't wanna do it tomorrow or the next day. So, "Oh, that hurt. Okay, let's take a moment, deal with that pain." And when you're in a cold environment and you're gonna freeze, you can't push. Like, you're really conscious of how my fingertips feel, if I'm sweating, if I'm over breathing, if my heart rate's up. So they become hyper conscious on focusing on what works. And then America. America is critically way out of focus. So part of that training was I want to teach you what you can actually do, what your body can do. And your body cannot go at 100% for more than 90 seconds. Not possible. Nothing. Most people try to. You're doing something for 5 minutes, but you're at 10% capacity now. So the mechanism of the body really loves to be on 100% for a short period of time and off, 100% off. If you look at an efficient runner, part of their body is mobile, the other part is loose and supple. If you look at a sprinter, the whole body is on, and a sprinter gets 10 seconds, maybe a minute for a 400 runner, and then they start not being able to process at 100% anymore. The 800 is about a minute and a half, a minute 38, I think is the fastest. Then they start falling off the planet, like they can't function. So at the 90-second mark, your body, if you're asking it to do 100%, can't anymore. But we think that it can, so we push it, push farther, push doesn't really need to respond at that level. And, what you can perceive is very short. The eyes can only focus for 8 seconds. Hearing, what what creates focus in hearing? What creates passion? So until you go through that understanding of focus, you're really using these focal things entirely wrong, and that's why people are all over the map. So the first part of the training is teaching people how to focus and how long you can actually do it. And it's dismal. People are like, "Wow, I can't focus." Yeah, you're right. So you checked out most people listening checked out of this conversation in the first 3 minutes, and they're thinking about, feet, butt, whatever. Their brain can't focus. A beautiful brain can focus for 3 minutes without thinking of one other thing. Einstein said he could focus for 5 minutes. Most people think they can focus longer than that, so it's not possible. So focus is a tool to access the other 5 areas. If you wanna do really well in life, you have to learn the principle of focus. Otherwise, you're always playing at 20%. It's better to play at 100% and 0 and turn that light switch on and off really quickly. 100% of my effort and then take a break. 100% of my effort, take a break. That's lethal. Like, you can accomplish anything that way. If you operate 20%, injury, 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 despair, mentality, you can't operate that way, and you don't do things over time well. The second part is the most tragic part of training and probably, the one everybody dreads, and that's, emotional quotient, or let's teach you about emotions, which is, what you were talking about, some of the things that you do. Emotional quotient leads to all the problems that people have. Emotionally, we get stuck. Uh, Tragic things happen, abuse, drugs, blah, 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 and we get stuck, and nobody has processed how to unscrew that. And so that part of training, I tragic, it's about 7 hours, and it all comes out. Like, if you ain't gonna play in this game, if you wanna come here and play, here's the deal. We're gonna talk about emotions, and they're all gonna come out. And I wanna see them. I want you to practice them. I want you to deal with them. Let's get to the root of it, what's behind it. It takes about 6 to 7 hours. And then the other, tool that really gives you access to greatness is you actually have to learn how to fail. You have to program failure into your life. So focus, motion, and failure are really what the whole program is about. It just takes 4 days to accomplish those.
So 32 out of 2,700 have been able to do these three simple things. Real quick, Tom, I gotta tell you, like I know you get a chance to speak. You know, you get interviewed quite a bit, and I've kind of been on this tour with three simple things. I'm not far off. I'm slacking in the relationship area. So if you have some tips for a single guy on how to connect, have relationship and intimacy in the morning when it's you and an 80-pound dog, I'm all open ears for that. I love the wealth, the 3 hour baseline. So a business group that I'm involved in, we've broken these. I mean, it's almost identical to what you're teaching here, but we have money now task, money maintenance task, and money later task. Money now is going to be your new clients, your new sales acquisitions. You know, reaching out DMs, follow up with previous sales calls, working on email campaigns and whatnot. So that's the new stuff. That's the money now. The existing stuff, that's the money maintenance. So I got a set of clients that obviously need to serve. I have some other streams of revenue that I just need to continue to kind of fill that pipeline. And then where you talked about kind of the dreaming, imagining, that's the money maker stuff. That's like, what can I do now that's going to generate revenue? Maybe 3 months, 90 days, 6 months, potentially a year down the road. Maybe building a new course, maybe writing a sales letter, maybe working on a
Well,
on a
so let
book.
me explain that,
For
because
me,
you
I
you
found
you
that.
fell into the trap of what most people think strategy is. Uh, the moment you're trying to figure out how to get there, it's tactical. So the part of strategy is, in 5 years, where is Frank sitting? Are you in this house? Do you have, 20,000,000 in the bank? What is who am I in 5 years? Imagine where I am, what I'm wearing. Imagine the condition that is me in 5 years. It's very hard for people to do that. Like, who am I gonna be hanging with
So you spend an hour there
every
you
day?
spend an hour there every
Imagine
day.
where I'm gonna be in 5 years. Once you start trying to solve it, it it's not strategy. By the way, I can't get to an hour. I get to 20 minutes and fuck, I gotta go solve that. It's not that I get pulled into doing real work. I'm like, man, I wanna, my son's gonna be out of high school. Okay, what are Stacy and I gonna be? So I'm like, man, I'm not really attached to this house. I wouldn't mind living outside. And then immediately I'm a solver. I'm like, okay, hmm, let me go look for land. You're trying to solve it. So let yourself be in 5 years, 3 years from now. What is it? I'm just using house as a reference. What's your bank account look like in 5 years? Can you see the number?
No, how do you avoid the trap of like never having like an actual destination that you're working towards? Because if you're spending, even if it's 20 minutes every day envisioning a future, I gotta imagine like where I'm going, it's gonna constantly be changing. So how do I avoid like not having a clear aim of where I'm trying to go if I'm spending an hour a
That's
day
tactics.
in kind of
So
in kind
you
of
already
vision?
know in your intentionality where you're going. This year I want to make X. This year I want to lift 300, 500 pounds, whatever the tangibles are, is your intentional stuff. The problem with intentionality is you miss things. You're on point. Okay, there's that pink Cadillac I didn't see. So when you're on point, intentional, there's a whole other world out there. Is out there, but I won't give a fuck. I'm going this direction. So that's different than strategic mind. A strategic mind starts from the future further out than the goal. So the yearly goal, I want to go to 2 years. Okay, now, gosh, where would we want to be? What was that like? And then you get to, is that a draw? Is that something that's legit? Once you start trying to solve it, the muscle is getting tired. Just back away from it and come back to it. Like categorically, uh, what is our relationship going to look like? What's my relationship with my family going to look like in 5 years? Okay, Autumn's and she's a pilot. My son Garrett's graduated college. Son Chance is getting out of high school. What is that going to be like? Oh, I don't know. Let's think about it. And the funny thing is asking somebody in the wealth category to monetize 5 years from now. So everybody listening, try to do this tomorrow or tonight. Try to think about what's in your bank account. That's simple. How much money do you want in your bank account? Most people can't even get there. Like, well, yeah, I really want $5 million, but that's then focus and ego, and you're afraid, and all that other stuff comes into play. So it's a muscle that's so atrophied, people can't do it. What is my bank account in 5 years? Once it gets clear, then you have a goal. And if you do it every day, you'll be like, okay, let me think about it today. Maybe it comes back up again. Maybe the $5 million pops back up. Well, shoot, it didn't come up. What really came up was moving to Detroit. Oh, that's random. Okay, let yourself think about it. And then you try to solve it, and then the muscle gets tired. So it's not what happens when it's not working. It's that you got to afford yourself the opportunity to do new client acquisition every day, client, you know, current client dealings every day, and strategic dealings every day. As the muscles get stronger over 21 days, boy, does it get crystal clear. But on day 10, you're like, this is fucking bullshit. I hate this
Yeah.
stuff. Okay. That's why you're where you are, is you're stuck with those softnesses that you're experiencing.
Mm, that is powerful. So teaching kind of visioning, like you're training it like a muscle. Like your first time of trying to figure out like where I want to be, like yeah, it's gonna suck. You're gonna come up with this artificial term, $1 million. Who wants $1 million in the bank? Like, you don't even know what that really means. Like, what would you do with it? That's just a number that it sounds big. A lot of people have it. Successful people got a million, but it's like yeah, you'll have that. But as you show up the next day, you get better. The reps get cleaner. the walk becomes smoother. So you get more clear, more clear, more clear what you're saying. By day 21, it's like when you close your eyes, it's like you can see it on a high definition, 1080p, whatever the latest, greatest technology is. It's like you're literally
Right.
living in that future
And
that
then
you
that
just created.
becomes, so in, it's the study of ontology, which is the study of human beings. The brain already wants to think 5 years ahead. It already wants you to do it, but you don't practice it, so it becomes a part of your brain you don't get access to. When you give access to that, your day-to-day actions start going that direction anyway. Like, I want to live in Minnesota. I wanna have a log cabin, peeled bark log cabin, 5-bedroom. Uh, I want my kids to be able to be there. I can see them outside with the grandkids. Boy, if you can talk about it and you do it every day, that's a magnet. That's just realigning everything that you're doing. So the tactical stuff is, you know what? Do I want to call Jim? Jim's not really interested in me 5 years from now. I'm not interested. I won't call Jim. I, does me working out, does me going doing this, does me buying that help my strategic vision? And you'll be like, if I'm practicing every day, like that's not helpful. I'm not interested. So it really focuses you, but it happens. And that I learned long ago that that's the hardest part. And of those three things, everybody's going to have a weak muscle. Strategy may be simple for John. Getting new clients is the bitch for every business in the world. No, that's the deal. And the funny thing is, going back to relationship, uh, the the listening is the hardest part. It's hard to listen, very hard. If you listen to your spouse, they become very exciting. If you don't, they become very mundane and you start separating. If you think you come to find out if you're married past 10 years and you think you know your spouse, you don't. Give me 10 minutes with her or him. I'm going to tell you something that you didn't know. And they want you to listen. We beat each other down. You know what happens. You've been in enough conversations with people that are stuck that we beat each other down as spouses and lovers. And then we have to go somewhere else to have somebody listen to my weirdness. Okay. What if your wife listened? That's powerful shit when your wife goes, "Wow, you're weird, but I wanna hear it. Just give it to me."
um, so on the relationship piece here, because for me, as I'm so excited. Your book is in transit as we speak. I didn't have time to grab a copy before I spoke with you, but three simple things will be here. And Tom, I don't know if I'm going to succeed, but I'm going to give this 6 hour baseline a shot at some point this year. I just got to kind of figure out exactly how to kind of maneuver some things around. But with the relationship piece, just kind of addressing, like a single guy. Like, are there like how would somebody that's single, spend 10 minutes listening to a spouse or partner, and then how do you spend 10 minutes in intimacy?
It's a struggle, isn't it? It's a muscle that's weak. So you either practicing connecting to somebody or you're practicing not connecting to somebody. It's a path. So
You
so,
have to
you
become
know,
intentional
who's
about.
somebody at work, who's somebody at the gym, that it doesn't have to be a woman. It has to be somebody. Doesn't have to be opposite sex. It could be a kid, it could be your son, but you have to connect from listening, speaking to that same person in intimacy. Obviously, intimacy with your kids is patting them on the back, acknowledging, "Hey, really love your shoes," because that's what they wanna hear. I don't know if they wanna hear that, I'm just making that shit up. So or touching your son, touching your daughter, not in that intimacy way that you do with your spouse, but it's significant. So have somebody in your life that you have significance with, 100% commitment to and with. And doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be opposite. So when you learn to do it with your spouse, you go back to work and you're like, all right, board of trustees, all right, tell me what's going on. I want to hear. As opposed to going to a meeting as a boss going, all right, here's where we're going today. You execute this. Great leaders go, all right, I want to hear what's going on. Then here's where I think we're going. What are we missing strategically? Or then acknowledging, hey, I acknowledge how tough it is to raise 6 kids. That's tough. Is there anything we as a company can do for you? That's intimacy with that person. And it's rare in the world that bosses do that. But I can tell you, great ones listen. Then they speak very clearly. I'm obviously not very clear. So, and they like, wow, I'd never thought that before. Changes everything. Okay, let's solve that one problem right there. Okay, tomorrow morning, I want this report on why this thing's solved or not solved. And Jenny, thank you for doing that. Chris, awesome. Create intimacy with your direct reports if you want to look at it that level. But you don't have to be married, but you have to have somebody that you're wildly interested in seeing them succeed.
Yeah, as you're kind of explaining that, I'm realizing I'm actually a lot better at that part than I was giving myself credit for. So our guest on the show the week before you was a great friend of mine, somebody really responsible for bringing me to Christ, and the result of that is everything that we're doing here today. But he and I use an app called Marco Polo. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
Yep.
It's kind of a video voice messaging app, and we both exceed 10 minutes a day of talking back and forth. Now it'll be 2 minutes here, 30 seconds here, 90 seconds here, but collectively throughout the course of the day, it is there. But what you're saying here with that boss piece, I think that's that kind of carryover compound effect, like realizing like putting time and energy into your spirituality is gonna pay off in health, wealth, relationships, and putting time into your wealth is gonna carry over to learning and health. And I know you talk about there actually being numerical value to each one of
Oh
these.
yeah.
And why
Well,
if we
this is
don't
the funniest thing. So I have a friend that's a savant. Like he sees and tastes numbers. He thinks everything is a numerical. He's zeros and ones. He's like a, a genius, and everything has a mathematical representation to it. And so he was going through training, he was feverishly not listening to the fucking word I said and writing these equations down. And I said, "So what did you create there?" And he said, "What you're saying, here's the formula to it." And it's weird. So I'm gonna explain it in basics, and I'm not trying to sell it. If you wanna learn the real shit, come to the training. It gets formulatic there. So the 5 elements are intellectual. That represents a 1x. So, one intellectual time, even past 30 minutes, will only get you 1x in your life. So you can study forever. Until you apply it, it has 1x differential. So, and he was said that because 1x, intellectual is 1x. I'm like, okay, I get that. The second one, and it's not in order of sequence, just the second one, is physical. And physical gets you 4x. So you're gonna everything that you do has a potential of the upside of 4xing your life. If you don't work out, you don't get the 4. If you don't do simple shit, you don't get the advantage of 4x in the other elements of your life. That's where it gets hard to explain it in short order. So wealth is 5x. So by pursuing the things that you value and getting compensated for it, your life measurably grows at 5. So if you have those 3, learn, physically do something, and make money, that's a 10x growth pattern. but there's two other ones. And as he explained them to me, I get it, but it's profound. Relational is a 7x, and spiritual is a 13x, which is then tragic. So as you go in reverse order, the question is, where do I negotiate with my time and energy? One is don't negotiate with it. Do all five of those, but most people then negotiate with it. So there's 30 increments there. There's 30 X's there. If you don't do spiritual and relational, you're minus 20. There ain't enough tens to overcome minus 20. Like you can't work out more, make more money to compensate for the loss of the 30 minutes of relational and the loss of the 30 minutes spiritual.
And those are the two that most people are quickest to
Yeah,
push aside.
they drop relational and spiritual wholesale because they don't think there's an ROI until you teach them to do it. And then the business grows and they're like, "Oh shit, I don't need to go to work 8 hours a day." Yep, you're right, you don't. Because now you're on point for 3 hours. Boom. Get it done, leave. But bosses don't understand that until they go through the training. So I look at it as a metric of I'm not gonna negotiate with it. And if I wanted to give up one, I would probably give up health for a while, for a day. Don't neglect the 13 and the 7 for a small number. Most people will sit and study and read and get on Facebook and do shenanigans and never grow, and that's intellectual, like, I wanna read the news. Well, what are you gonna fucking do about it? So most people, you've seen the tragic numbers of Facebook and social media. It's 6 to 7 hours a day. There's no advantage. There's no upside unless it's transactional, unless you're from wealth going into social media, on point for an hour, new client acquisition. But humans don't do that. They spend intellectual time using their brains, social media, and there's only a 1x gain. And they don't go to the gym to actually work out for an hour.
They
They
read
go
about
and
working
move
out.
and do social media. They talk to their bros and they're, you know, it's never on point. So that hour, you only got 20 minutes of real movement. So it's a tragic indicator, but those are not DNA things. Anybody can then make a better decision. Hey, I'm a big fan of the phone, but don't negotiate with it. I'm still going to get my 90 minutes in of athletic activity. I'm still going to do my wealth on point. Once I'm done with my baseline, I can go do stupid, erroneous shit that doesn't make a difference. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but it's better
No,
to do 6 hours on point than 12 hours of disparate activity.
it's making so much sense to me. And I was the learn, take a course, read a book, do this, attend an event, go to a seminar, hire a coach, have a mentor, listen to a podcast. I didn't take any action. I didn't step out. I didn't fail. I didn't learn to fail because I was afraid of failing because I didn't feel like I had enough of it. And then my life changed. I think this is where we're really going to bring everything home here today. Is when I started to really integrate my faith and spirituality into my life. Ultimately, that was the point of transformation that has resulted in my life turning around, and it brings us to everything that we have here today. So you you made a comment, offline. You made a comment in our initial introduction email about the title of the podcast. So the Superhuman Life, for me, this podcast has been a result of my story. I know we didn't really talk a lot about the work that I do. I mean, you know the men that I coach and work with, and I didn't wake up one day and decide that I want to help the broken men of the world move forward. It really was a result of my life story, my transformation, really breaking free of this and understanding that when you partner with the right person in life, when you lead with faith over everything else, that ultimately you can create any life that you could ever dream of having. And in my eyes, the life that we're created to live is a superhuman life. So when I talk about living a superhuman life, it comes from a belief. It comes from understanding that we were created for a purpose. We were given, I think you would maybe push back a little bit on this. We were given a set of skills that we can then take and serve the world to make other people's lives better. So that's what I talk about when I mention living a Superman life. But I like to give every guest the opportunity. As we end the show here today, Thom, I'm so appreciative. So before we answer that, obviously I want to give the audience a chance to connect with you, find your books, find more information about your leadership, about your training. So for anybody that loves what you had here to say, where's the best place to connect with Thom?
The best place that funnels all the information is unbreakableleadership.com. And we hold 7 events a year. The first one that's coming up in February. It's a level one training. It's either in Lubbock or here in Greenville. And we have a 24-hour challenge that, dude, you need to come to it. All your
20.
friends are coming. You got to come.
Yeah, let's go. This is
And
in
so it's
April.
I'm a firm believer in breaking through limits. So our training is just about that. We're in social media everywhere, Thom Shea or Unbreakable Leadership, and we're responsive. I have several partners that we all do work together, and uh, and Three Simple Things is on Amazon, which is the best place to purchase it. And I would appreciate the read and the review and to talk to anybody that's interested in that book and what's inside it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm going to connect with Danny and figure out if the time that they're attending the training, if that works. I'm definitely all in for that. And like I said, I got a copy coming. So there's one review. I know it's an add to the many that we already have. But Thom, I'm just so appreciative for your time here today. I really feel like we did a little bit. I think we did a little bit different here today. This was more of a masterclass on these three simple things. And I appreciate you taking the time to really unpack
Sure.
your 5 pillars, your three simple things within each. I know I got so much out of this, 2.5 pages of notes here. I know, my clients and students and what I'm able to really decipher out of this and articulate back into my own, unintelligent words, there will be value there. And then everybody that's going to watch this and hear this is going to get so much out of this. So as we wrap it up, I kind of gave you my definition here, living a life free of change, living a life completely free of addictions and partnered with the right person in life. So Thom Shea, how would you define living superhuman life?
Don't make things complex anymore. What's really great about human beings is when they do the simple things in life and how extraordinary or super they could possibly be. Complexity in human life don't go well. The I'm a fan of simplicity. Like make your life simple and watch how extraordinary it can be.
So true. I love that quote. Complexity is the enemy of execution. Find yourself failing to take steps, look at just simplifying things. So, brother, amazing. Thank you so much, guys. For you guys out there, connect with Thom. We're going to link up all of his information down there in the show notes. For you guys that are watching there on YouTube, we ask that you subscribe to the channel, give us a like, and those of you that are listening on Apple or the podcast platforms out there, if you haven't done so yet, make sure to rate and review the podcast. But for Frank Rich, Thom Shea, we'll see you guys next week.